Man and grandmama, his dad going to prison. He goddamn keeps shit up. Dad going to prison.
Don't be in this bitch. Wait till I come back in the market late night, and then it's just you, and I slap you up. Yeah. You trying to act all tough? All like this in front of all your people. Tell your mama I said Happy Mother's Day. And then crying in my face and shit. Like, what do you want to talk about money? Like, this being shit. This being shit. No, I'm being rich. You lying. You lying. You over here flagging like a bird. You're cat.
Stand by right here for me. Alright, so I'm 10 extend, 1 to 10. Spread your leg slightly. I just need to pat you down.
Stop scrolling. Because what you're about to hear is nothing like the carefully polished family image you've seen online. This time, the truth slipped out. And when T.I. finally broke his silence about King Harris's shocking 5-year sentence, the entire internet froze. His voice cracked, his anger shook the room, and for the first time in years, the world saw a father who wasn't trying to look perfect, but a man who was scared, devastated, and completely out of options. And the words he spoke? They hit harder than any headline ever could. "I'm done with this," he whispered, but the story behind that sentence is what will leave you speechless. Because everything leading to this moment, the courtroom chaos, the late-night phone calls, the violent threats, the countdown the judge said she had no choice but to follow, all of it pushed T.I. to a breaking point he never wanted to reach. So sit tight, because this story doesn't just start with a sentencing. It actually begins hours earlier, in a silent hallway where hope was supposed to live but died the moment King walked through the wrong door. King Harris was pacing back and forth before the verdict came down, trying to look confident, but every time he blinked, his eyes told a different truth. The truth that no camera caught. He was scared. His hands kept shaking. And even though he kept forcing a smirk, like his usual defiance, something deep inside him kept collapsing. You could see it in the way he couldn't finish a sentence. In the way he kept wiping his palms on his jeans. In the way he kept whispering, "I hope my pops ain't mad," as if that was the only thing he cared about. But he wasn't the only one breaking. In another room, away from the cameras, away from the lawyers, T.I. was sitting alone with his head in his hands. He didn't look like the superstar, the businessman, the legend. He looked like a father who had fought every battle he could, and still lost. His team said that in those 20 minutes before the verdict, he didn't speak. Not one word. He just stared at the floor, breathing like someone trying not to drown. At one point he whispered, "I did everything right with him, everything, so why couldn't he hear me?" And that whisper was the first crack in the wall he'd been holding up for years. Because the truth, the painful truth, is that T.I. had been fighting this war much longer than the internet realized. The fights at home. The arguments that went past midnight. The lectures that turned into pleas. The calls from people warning him King was hanging with the wrong crowd. The "I told you so's." The "you need to let him fall" comments. T.I. ignored all of it. Because in his mind, he could fix it. He was a father, and fathers fix their kids. But every time he reached for King, King walked further away. And today, the walk was over. Today, the system reached him first. When the courtroom doors opened and King sat down with that same forced smirk, T.I. kept staring at him, waiting for just one moment of eye contact. One moment where his son would look at him and say, "I get it now." But King never looked up. Even when the judge was reading the charges, King kept staring at his lap. And that moment shattered something in T.I., because that was the first time he realized King wasn't lost. King didn't want to be found. Then came the sentence. 5 years. The room exploded. Screams, gasps, chairs shifting, someone fainting, but T.I. didn't move. Not at first. He didn't even blink. He just sat there, frozen, like he had just heard the one thing he always prayed he'd never hear. And then, slowly, he stood up. Not like a man who was angry. Not like a man who was shocked, but like a man whose entire soul had been ripped from his chest. King finally looked up, and for the first time, his smirk disappeared. His eyes went wide, like a child who realized the consequences were real. Like a child who wanted to run to his father but couldn't. And then it happened. They tried to cuff King, but he turned toward T.I. and raised his hands just for a second, like a kid asking to be held. But the guard pulled him forward, and that moment broke T.I. completely. He reached out instinctively, but another officer pushed him back. And all T.I. could say was, "Wait, wait, wait, he's still my son." But the judge didn't stop. The bailiff didn't stop. Nobody stopped. And King was led away. That was the moment T.I. sat back down, put his head against the bench, and whispered the words that the microphones picked up, but the judge pretended she didn't hear. "I'm done with this." But the world didn't know what he meant, not yet. Because done didn't mean he was giving up on King. No, done meant something completely different, something that would soon explode online. Done meant he was done covering for King. Done saving him. Done defending him. Done protecting him from his own actions. Done carrying the weight of mistakes he didn't make. And when he finally stepped outside the courthouse, his voice shaking, one journalist yelled, "T.I., how do you feel about the sentence?" And that was it. That was the moment he snapped. His whole body tensed, his jaw locked, his eyes filled with fire and heartbreak at the same time. And he said, "How do I feel? How do you think I feel? Y'all think this is entertainment? This is my child. This is my baby boy. And I've been screaming for years that he ain't listening, that he ain't hearing me. But nobody wanna listen until now. Now look. Now everybody wanna talk." And he didn't stop there. He added, "I'm done. I'm done saving someone who doesn't want to be saved. I love my son, but I'm done walking into walls trying to pull him out of a fire he keeps jumping back into." People in the crowd were stunned. Some cried. Some filmed. Some backed away. But T.I. wasn't finished. He said, "I begged this boy to stop. I begged him to listen. I begged him to take the easy road, the safe road, the road I built for him with my own hands. And he chose the dark road every time. Now he gotta walk it. I can't walk it for him no more." By that point, Tiny was crying. Zanique was crying. Even the bodyguards looked emotional. A few fans tried to hug him, but security held them back. Then came the part that silenced the entire internet. A reporter asked, "Do you think the judge was fair?" T.I. lowered his head. His voice dropped to a whisper. "The judge did what I couldn't." Those 6 words? They shook the nation. Because that was the moment everyone realized, this wasn't about fame, money, connections, or reputation. This was about a father realizing he had lost the one battle he was willing to lose everything for. Hours later, when he finally got home, he didn't speak to anyone. Not even Tiny. He went into his studio, closed the door, and sat on the floor in the dark. People close to him said that for the first time in years, T.I. cried. Not silent tears. Not 1 or 2 tears. He cried like someone who had held pain in for too long. Cried like someone who finally cracked open. And after that breakdown, came the silence. The heavy, suffocating silence that hung over the entire Harris household. Even the kids walked quietly. Even the lights felt dimmer. Tiny kept trying to reach out, but T.I. wasn't ready. He kept replaying the moment King raised his hands toward him. The moment he wasn't allowed to hug his son. The moment he realized he couldn't fix everything. But then, everything changed again. Late that night, T.I. got a message. A message from someone inside the system telling him something terrifying. Something that made him jolt up from the floor and start pacing the room with panic. King had been placed in a specific block with inmates who already knew who he was, and not in a good way. And the message said King was already crying, begging to be moved, begging for help, begging for someone to tell his father. T.I. almost ran out of the house right then and there. But Tiny grabbed him, tears streaming down her face, yelling, "Tip, you can't. You'll only make it worse." And that's when the breaking point reached its peak. T.I. punched the studio wall so hard the entire frame cracked. Then he slammed his hand on the table and screamed the words that no father ever wants to say out loud. "I told him this would happen. I told him." He collapsed into a chair, shaking, sweating, breathing unevenly. And the whisper that followed was even more painful. "He's my son. He's my son. Why won't he come home?" The next morning, T.I. finally addressed the world. Not through PR. Not through management. Not through a clean interview. He went live, raw, unfiltered, eyes red, voice trembling. He said, "For everyone asking why I said I'm done, let me explain. I'm not done loving my son. I'm not done praying for him. I'm not done hoping for him. But I am done fighting battles he keeps choosing." His voice cracked as he said, "I hope jail scares him straight. I hope he learns. I hope he survives. I hope he comes back home a man, not a headline." The live ended with a sentence that broke millions. "I just want my son back, not the version the streets took from me." This is the truth behind the twisted clips and headlines, the pain no one saw. T.I. hasn't given up on King, he's just realized he can't save him alone. As King begins the hardest 5 years of his life, the world waits to see if this is the moment he changes, or breaks. But this story isn't over. Families heal slowly. Fathers keep loving. And sons eventually find their way home.